Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Gillian Berry, and today we have an awesome guest in store for you guys. We have John, and he's under Raw Alchemy Online. He is a raw vegan, and he has recently completed a 230-day juice fast, you guys. He had an incredible experience. This is actually like over 7 months of drinking only juice. So today we are going to wrap up his experience, the results, everything he experienced, the good and the bad. And let's say hello to John. Hey, John, how's it going?
It's going great, Gillian. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm so happy to have you back on. So we had you on at day 200 and the video was just so popular. Everybody loved you so much, obviously. And we wanted to have you back on. So 230 days on only juice. How was this experience as a whole?
Overall, this has been one of the most powerful, most wonderful experiences of my life. It's been great. I feel like the entire juice feast was an overwhelming success, especially after refeeding. This is the beginning of week 6 since I broke my fast or feast, I like to call it. And that's gone really, really well. It's been a great experience eating once again and incorporating all the full rainbow, full spectrum of the raw vegan, lifestyle back into my diet. And so yeah, I'm really happy to report that back.
Yeah. And how do you feel on food versus how you felt on juice?
I actually feel amazing. Like I broke my juice feast with a peach, and that tasted it was probably the best peach of my entire life. I don't think it's the same as like when someone goes on a water fast and eats and they're like totally in tears because they haven't had any, sustenance for so long. It wasn't quite like that, but it was still like the best peach I've ever had in my life. And actually everything I've eaten since then has been like the best I've ever had. Like even like certain things like walnuts. I didn't have very many overt fats this entire time, obviously on juices and even the few months leading up to that. So like things like walnuts are especially like incredibly great when I'll soak them for, a day or two. And yeah, it's just really interesting. My salads, even everything I'm preparing. I've been making a lot of raw sushi over here for dinner.
Wow.
And, it's just all so incredible. My smoothies, like when I had bananas again, it was like I was in heaven with them. So it's been a joy. It's
And
been a
did you get like any massive cravings? I know a lot of people are like, can't do juice cleanses because they think they're just going to crave all these things and then it might spiral them in the other direction after the juice cleanse. So that hasn't
yeah.
been the case with you, right? Like you didn't feel the need to like binge on like pizza or like things from like your old habits.
No, you mean since like breaking the feast?
Yeah.
No, I was really pleased. My final week on juice, I had a kind of a crazy detox, I don't know, a detox period come over me. And so I went through a time where, my hunger diminished a bit for a few days. So I had, much fewer juices than I'm accustomed to having.
Yeah.
So during that week, as soon as my kind of hunger came back on and I felt like myself again, that was probably the time of the most, I don't know, the greatest cravings, I would say, for anything. And actually at that time, I was thinking back to foods from like way, way, way back to like my childhood, 10 years ago, looking up old restaurants I used to, visit. And fortunately, I kind of have the experience to kind of know I knew what I was dealing with there. I was totally prepared and I was just like reincorporating my juices
Yeah.
and soon after, within a few days, I broke the feast and began eating quite a bit of my calories with whole fruits. And I basically what I did, like the first day it was just a peach and the rest of the day was juices. The second day I had a few pieces of stone fruit and a small like watermelon meal throughout the day, like later in the day. And the rest was juice. And I just slowly got to the point where I was like 50% whole fruit and 50% juices by like day 5 or 6. And then, with the encouragement of a couple of my friends who had juice feasted before, they said it might be okay. I was craving like avocado. So they said, try a little slice of avocado. So I did, and it went well, really well. So
Good.
really, it was like about 5 to 7 days on just fruit and juices.
Wow.
And my body started giving me indications that it would be okay with like a tomato cucumber salad with some avocado. And I started making small kind of, non-sweet fruits, I guess you could say salads. And then by 7 to 10 days, I was incorporating a little bit of like kind of shredded up romaine and some leafy greens. I was really surprised after going so long that it only took 1 to 2 weeks to really transition off of all juice and then I always love my juices. So I even still start my day with at least two 32-ounce juices, sometimes three. And, but yeah, it didn't take long at all to transition back to smoothies with bananas. And, before, I would say 10 to 12 days in, I was incorporating some soaked nuts and seeds, really, starting with small amounts. But after so long, my body definitely was ready to start eating. Like I felt like such a finely tuned kind of machine. Like my whole digestive system was just like a sponge, just absorbing everything. As
Wow.
long as I chewed everything really well and soaked all my nuts and seeds, obviously for, a day or two, it all went really, really well. I was like so surprised because I was prepared mentally to like have to be on just fruit for a month and maybe
Yeah.
not have overt fats for like 6 weeks or longer.
So you've had
But
like no digestive upset or like anything?
nothing at all. Honestly, I've even been because I've been enjoying eating so much. I mean, I've always gone from like the most hydrating foods into the denser foods throughout the day. So I start my day with the juices and I'll have either, fruit mono meals for snacks leading up to my smoothie, or then just get into like my giant, full Vitamix smoothie that's quite nutritionally dense. And then after that, I'll have a mono meal of fruit for dinner, usually while I'm prepping something a little bit more savory, like a big salad, with a homemade dressing, or like the sushi rolls. I've been eating like, I mean, not, I worked my way up to this, but lately it's like I'll have like 30 pieces of sushi at night. Like I'll have a lot of food. I'm back to eating a lot of food already.
Wow,
It
that's
was
awesome.
no problem. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. I'm kind of feasting over here. And so I haven't been particularly overly cautious with my food combining, especially for my dinners, like with raw zoodle dishes and the salad combinations. I'm putting pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds in my salads and snacking on walnuts while I'm preparing dinner and stuff.
Yeah.
And my body is just like, bring it on. It's just ready. So
Wow.
yeah, I was really, really surprised there because, that was a big concern. There's some people who are, I'm sure they're sharing lovingly, but they're, raising concerns about hurting our microbiome or something like that on a juice cleanse. And it didn't so far, knock on wood, everything seems really, really fine already.
Yeah, I've also heard the argument that it resets it and then it's actually beneficial for it. There's some people that say that too. So like, there's both sides of things, but in your experience, like it was beneficial, right? You don't feel like it harmed your digestion at all. And what other benefits do you think, like if you could list all the benefits like from overall the whole juice cleanse now that you're done it?
Wow. There are so many benefits. I plan to share a lot about that in the future. There can be like separate videos for each benefit
Yeah.
almost, but
And I
for
gotta
sure.
say, I'm so happy you're on YouTube now. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be on here. Yeah, I have a lot to share, honestly. Thank you, Gillian. Gosh, the first thing that comes to mind is my connection with my body and the intuitive guidance I feel. Like it kind of kicked into overdrive a couple weeks into the juice feast, where it was like 1.5 weeks where I was incorporating all the typical juices that a lot of like the juice feasting or juice fasting legends kind of recommend. Lots of veggie juices and like doing like carrot spinach and lots of lemon ginger blasts and stuff, which are all wonderful juices. But somewhere around like, yeah, the 7 to 14 day mark, something took over and my intuition just told me what to cut out, what to increase. And it never ended. It just like that intuition just grew and grew and grew. And it's still going really strong. Like I go to the grocery store and I'm buying things I never imagined I would before. I'm like all over like the sprouts and microgreens section. And I mean, I have like tons of jars in the fridge soaking nuts and seeds, and I have like goji berries, like lots of things that my body's just saying, yes to. And it's surprising, but it all feels like I've never felt better, honestly, on a raw diet. Like
Wow.
these next couple of months is pretty much going to mark like one full year raw for me, like my first whole entire, prior to this, I was raw only 3 or 4 months out of each year. And I was like raw till dinner the rest of the time. But it was, with the juice feast helping out, this was a really, really easy year
So
to
now you
stay.
feel like extra committed than ever to the raw lifestyle, would you say?
I absolutely do. Yeah. Out of everything out there on the spectrum, the only things I think about like lightly steaming or something would be like mushrooms or broccoli, maybe some peas. I really do enjoy peas. So I'm going to try to find like, raw peas. But, I used to keep like frozen broccoli in the freezer and peas mostly more than anything. So, sometimes I think, maybe one day if I feel like it would be fine, maybe incorporating some lightly steamed veggies onto a salad or something. But
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need it because I'm getting I'm getting greens in so many other forms. And my salads are just like massively abundant with so many nutrients and I feel so wonderful being fully raw. I mean, aside from a couple of condiments here and there, like I have been using, which is surprising to me. Because when you're on a cleanse, like when I was on juice, I felt like you feel like you can be on that forever. So I think that's where a lot of kind of misconception or, judgment between different raw vegan paths comes in, where, when you're on a very abundant raw vegan lifestyle, it's easy to want to promote that to everyone. And the same with like cleansing, like when you're on a fruitarian path or a juice feast, it's easy to say, oh my gosh, this is all you need. But I kind of learned that there's different time periods for each of us. There's like a time and a place for both lifestyles. And it just makes me want to like reach out to the whole raw vegan community and ask everyone to just like love on each other, give each other a big hug and accept one another and realize that, like, kind of open up our perspectives to one another's like styles and where we're at and appreciate each other. Because you never know when you might be called to do a cleanse or go on a cleansing path, and you never know when your body's going to want to build back up. But yeah, for sure, it's I don't know. The overall experience has been so amazing. The intuitive connection with my body is maybe number one, but then like the whole spiritual side is another fascinating aspect to it. The way it's opened me up in certain ways, opened my heart up, my mind, and
And you said like you were manifesting more and stuff too, right? And you were still working, right? During the whole cleanse.
I've been working like 40 to 50 hours a week. I work. I would be way more active on social media and YouTube. And I will be, like, when my schedule, settles down a bit, but I was extremely productive.
And would you
And
say you had more energy, less energy, or like the same energy?
yeah, absolutely more energy on
Oh,
juice. And I was sleeping less. I was sleeping, at first, which might have been a calorie thing, but 4 hours a night, 5 hours a night. But, I settled into like 6 hours, felt like plenty. Like without setting an alarm clock, I'd wake up at around the 6 hour mark and be very well rested for the day.
mhm.
And it's pretty similar when I'm raw. Like right now, I have been incorporating some overt fats. Probably at least 15% of my calories are coming from overt fats right now. I feel like my body is kind of topping back up on those nutrients. And and that's more like 7 hours, it went up a little bit, but it's still really, my body's really, really efficient. And it's definitely improved a lot. And on juice, it's just amazing. It's almost unbelievable how much energy and focus you have,
Yeah.
especially when you go a while, like it's kind of like a freight train. As it gets chugging and gets going, you get into like this flow state and something really, really magical takes over and starts steering like your every action, your every, like, everything. Saying
Wow.
yes to opportunities seem to come out of nowhere, and then you just have this overwhelming feeling like what to say yes to, and it's almost like nothing that's not appealing comes up. I don't know, it just feels like it really feels like you're getting creating a shift in your inner, like, vibrational state.
It's like you
And
lose
that's
the resistance, right? Like that's what I remember with mine. It's like you lose like the resistance that can be within you.
You definitely do. Like inhibitions, for example, seem to fall to the wayside. I mean, it really seems like everything that's not essential or not at the current moment, that's not beneficial. Like for me, like everything that wasn't super beneficial to me, it could be relationships or opportunities or things that I was choosing to do, spend my time doing. It all just fades away into the background or kind of vanishes entirely. And then other areas or opportunities or individuals or relationships really come to the forefront. When this happens to everyone throughout everyday life, but there's something going on inside of us when we're on such a clean lifestyle, and it happens when you're raw too. I'm sure you've experienced, similar,
Mhm. And on my
where
juice cleanse too, like the very similar things. I mean, I didn't go as long as you. It seems to
yeah,
me then like this is like maybe one of the most beautiful experiences of your life, would you say?
definitely, yeah, it's life changing for sure. It's definitely life changing for sure. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't even know. It's like I know that, it's been almost 6 weeks where I've been eating again, and now the whole raw lifestyle is kind of kicking in. And I'm experiencing, okay, you definitely feel like an adjustment and kind of your energy, sphere. Like you feel a little bit, I don't feel heavy or sluggish, or like I don't feel so much like I have some friends who said, you feel so kind of like euphoric on juice that you're kind of bummed out after.
Mhm.
I feel personally very well, like very well rounded now, like very complete and I feel more satiated now. I didn't even realize it, but like,
Wow.
after a while, you do start to miss certain things like overt fats and salads and greens and everything I'm incorporating now. My body was kind of missing, I feel. So I feel more grounded and centered and calm, kind of at peace with everything. Also, my meals are more satiating. So like I'll have a heavy enough dinner where I'll actually wake up and still feel satiated from it. Whereas on juice, even though I'll drink juice right up until bedtime a lot, just to ensure I was getting my calories, no matter how much juice I drank the day before, I'd wake up like pretty ravenous for more, juice right away.
Yeah.
So it helps. Like when I'm working a lot, it's nice to have the denser calories, nice to have some overt fats in there, some slower digesting foods to hold me over longer through certain periods. Like my smoothie, for example, is a
Mhm.
real powerhouse of a smoothie, and that satiates me for almost the rest of the day. Like my dinners are kind of just like the cherry on top. But when you have a smoothie with like I have like 7 to 10 bananas, I put like 9 medjool dates in there, 3 handfuls of spinach, hemp seeds, coconut water. I've been putting some, goji berries in there.
Yeah.
And it's just so much is going in that it's very calorie dense and nutritionally dense. So it
Yeah. I
feels
just feel
really
like you have a
great.
new appreciation for the foods.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, what juicer did you use? I think you said the Nama, in case anybody's wondering. And how many juices were you drinking a day? I think you were using these jars, right? Like the large mason jars?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When I was juicing, I was drinking on average 7 32-ounce mason jars a day. And it, on a day where I was less active, it would be 6. And early on, for some reason, it was like consistently 8. Like 8 was my average for the
Yeah.
first 2 to 3 months. And there were a couple days where I had 9. Like I literally was counting. I was like 9. I couldn't believe how much I was drinking.
Yeah.
But at some point, it definitely dipped down a little. And I thought I was going to keep getting more and more efficient. I got excited, but it didn't really, that wasn't the case. I stayed on at least 7, or else I would definitely feel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my average as far as how many I drank. And what was the first
The
part of the
juicer?
question
What
again?
was the juicer? It was the
Oh
Nama,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I started out, it's funny, the first couple of weeks, I started out with the old Omega, like 350 VRT, the old vertical Omega that I had for like, I don't know, at least 7 years or so.
Yeah.
And that kind of bottlenecks up. Like you have to really dice certain things up really small to get in there, like pineapple and like celery, or else it'll clog up, even though it's an awesome juicer. So I upgraded that to the latest model of the Omega Vertical, which was like the VSJ 843, which was awesome. Like I was in love with it. It was so much more efficient than their older model. And then a lot of my friends started coming out of the woodworks and saying, you're doing a lot of juicing, you're going a long time. So maybe at the 4-month mark, around day 100, 120, I bought the Nama J2. And that was like a game changer, I have to say. Like,
I
it
hear
had,
it's so good. I have to try it. I don't have it.
it's so amazing. It's hard to imagine. I mean, to tell you the truth, as soon as that juice survived, I have never used the Omega again. Like I put it back in the
Wow.
box. And
Is
now,
it easier to clean? Because I have an Omega and I just find it so,
Mm.
at least the model I have, it's an older model. I find it hard to clean and everything. So that's why I use my Breville, which is not like the best for quality of
Yeah.
juice, but it works great for me. But is it easier to clean?
I find the Nama a little bit easier. There's something on the surface of it where everything slides off real easily. You still have
Yeah.
that little toothbrush tool and that little screen to clean. It's very similar. All the components are similar to like the Omega, but
Oh,
you have that hopper, the top hopper part where you can load lots of fruits in, or fruit and veggies in there. And so that part is surprisingly easy. It's like a quick rinse. Everything falls right off of it. And then you do have, it's very similar, but for some reason I find it a little quicker cleaning the Nama because of the materials it's made out of or something.
yeah.
It's easy. But I did find my Omega, the vertical model, was pretty easy. It's always like a 5-minute cleanup. It's after doing a lot of juicing, it is the last thing in the world you feel like doing.
Yeah.
But they're both pretty awesome. Like honestly, I think, from my experience, the Omega vertical juicers and I know there's some other brands like Tribus has the Slow Star, which my sister has, and they're both very similar. Those are really, really incredible juicers because in my experience, they juice like greens, vegetables, and fruit equally well. Where some juicers are like meant for greens and some are
Yeah.
designed more for, so that's what I love about them. But the Nama really, it's really something.
That's awesome.
It lets you like chop up and load up the hopper. It
Yeah.
starts juicing it, which takes a minute or two. But while that's going on, you're washing and chopping the next batch. And that actually adds up to saving quite a bit of time,
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I've become an advocate for that juicer now.
Yeah, I hear it's amazing from everyone. And I'm wondering, like, what would you say if you had to summarize the juice cleanse in like one word? What would that be?
Mm, I mean, amazing just popped into my head. Amazing, I guess that's the word, right? But yeah, amazing, enlightening, very enlightening. You will, anyone who embarks on one doesn't have to be a long one either, but the clarity that you will experience, everything I was trying to describe before, you can sum it up by saying like clarity. You just feel so much more clarity with
Yeah.
everything, your relationship to nature, your relationship to the people in your life, to animals and pets, to the food you're eating, to everything. Like I honestly, for 7.5 months, I did not watch a single thing on like Netflix, not a single thing, no
Wow.
movie. It's like, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. That stuff just fell way into the background. And in my mind, people around me are talking about shows and movies that just came out. And part of me goes, that'll be nice one day, but like something comes over you and reprioritizes everything where you just know like that's not essential. This stuff is.
Yeah.
This is your
It-
path. This is the direction you're going, and this is what's going to, assist you on that path. And everything else is going to slow you down. So this is the only choice. This is what you want to be doing. So stuff like that in every area, it's really hard to put into words. I think that's
wow.
why people become so kind of evangelical about the juicing journey when they've gone a while, like 90 days or so. Something does kind of take over that is quite hard to put into words. It's like really,
You're making me
it's
want to do it. I want to do a long-term one now. And did any of your relationships, like, did you have any drastic changes because of this? Because your vibration, like the spiritual experience, everything like seemed to like change. I mean, you're naturally a very spiritual person anyway, I feel like, but it was a big shift too, like a big exaggerated shift. So did any relationships like change or any big things happen that were like big shifts on the juice cleanse? Like you knew you needed to like change your job or remove this relationship or like anything?
like one of the biggest things, believe it or not, is like those who know me really well and who have known me for like a decade. They know that like as soon as I discovered the raw vegan path, even though I was like a little skeptical early on about it, I saw people like Life Regenerator, like Dan McDonald and, Christina and a lot of people on YouTube back then. And right away I felt a resonance with how transparent they were and what they were sharing and how beautiful the overall message was. And I also had that resonance that, this is kind of the answer for everything. Like for me, it was like how to do what's best for the planet, for myself, for those around me who were suffering with, different ailments and diseases and stuff. And so it did take me a few years to really have that belief that this could be the answer. This could be the thing, the way, that the thing that people need to hear and do, that I needed. And so I kind of had this like flash, like a little flash of my future. Like I saw myself doing a lot of that,
Wow.
like just sharing a lot. And so, but it's taken me time, like my inhibitions and the ego just get in the way where I start over analyzing. Like, if I wanted to make a YouTube video, I'd sit down and do one, create one and then watch it and overanalyze everything about it and would never share. So that's
That's
one of the
normal,
biggest.
you know?
Yeah, it's just something that takes practice. I have like, I don't know, many vlogging, like trips I've taken, road trips, and like just amazing things I'll vlog the entire time and actually upload. I have videos uploaded privately that I would just go back and watch. And
Hmm.
it all really helped a lot. It helps you get comfortable, sharing in front of the camera. The technical aspect of it is huge to learn.
Hmm.
But that's one thing that this experience, it really made it very easy for me to just say yes to opportunities to share with you, for example, which is kind of a big deal for me. Your channel's one of the most incredible channels now in the whole raw
Thanks.
vegan community. Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you. Honestly, and your channel in particular helped me tremendously with the guests that you feature and those who have gone before me on juice. So yeah, it's just so it was almost kind of trippy, right? At some point where, we kind of ended up vibrating at a similar place where we ended up touching base and you offered, you asked if I'd like to, share my experience. And so here I am, like suddenly on this end of the camera on one of my favorite channels on YouTube. So things like that just happen absolutely effortlessly, you guys. Like this is
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
love
talking
that.
about.
I love how it just everything becomes effortless like that. That's just like
Yeah.
how things should be, I feel like, you know? And I feel like maybe
Mhm.
some of these heavy foods and things like stimulants and heavy foods and things maybe we're not supposed to be eating can like block that, you know, and kind of like maybe it
Yeah.
disconnects us from our higher self in a way. And that's why things feel there feels to be like more resistant and more blocks. And then when you're like did a cleanse like that, everything is just so free, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. It's like on one hand, you have opportunities presenting themselves all around. And then on the other hand, who you are on the inside is transforming. And so the ability to say yes to those just becomes vastly easier. And same with like, yeah, so now like seeing myself, hearing myself, I feel like just being myself is easier. It sounds so crazy,
Yeah.
right? But it can be hard to just be yourself.
Yeah, it can in this world. It can, especially when like lots of times as kids, we were like, there were situations that happened that showed us like maybe it's not safe to be ourselves. Maybe then we learned that in some situations and then stopped like thinking we can be comfortable to be ourselves, right?
Yeah, it's a really deep topic, but yeah, definitely. And so that's a massive breakthrough. It was like suddenly I'm like, it's like these first three vlogs, like you guys, this I honestly didn't think I was going to share these vlogs with anyone in the world. It was like literally because my schedule is so busy, 80% of them, I recorded like 53 total juicing vlogs. A lot of them are like just a few days apart, or there's some redundancy. So I may only upload the top 20 or something that might be the most helpful to others, just to kind of expedite the process because I want to get them all up soon, as a
Yeah.
playlist. But there just came a day where, right away, this little voice again kind of planted the seed. As I was filming, something said to speak to the camera as if I'm speaking to others. But deep down, I felt like, I don't know, 50-50. I may never share these with anyone except myself, which I wanted as like a reference to document the experience. Once I went like, a few days, I started to feel something telling me like, you might go a bit longer. So, but there came a certain point where I just knew like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely sharing everything I have. I'm so grateful for every photo I've taken, for every video I've recorded. I really want to connect. Something comes over you and you want to just connect with everybody and you want to share it as transparently as you can. And you really just
Yeah.
want to be of service to, that's all that's all it comes down to. Really, you start thinking about like the legacy you're going to leave behind and what you might have of value to share.
So true. I
So
love it.
that sort of thing comes up and the clarity behind it is like powerful. So
Yeah, amazing. Beautiful. And I'm just wondering, what would you say with the juice cleanse would be the keys to success if like somebody else is looking to do a juice cleanse, maybe a long-term juice cleanse or like any juice cleanse in general? What do you think are like the keys to make that successful like you have done?
I would say for, the keys, if I just get right to the point, would be first, I always say education has been my foundation, with the juice feast, especially, but also with the raw vegan path. So first, learn a lot, watch as many videos as you can online. John Rose is an excellent resource. Nathan Mulder did a great job of documenting his journey. Maestro's done a great job of it. There's certain people that did a really good job. Maybe my channel will be great. We'll see. It
It
was
will
very
for sure. Yeah.
as far as like what I've shared already. Just believe it or not, I would watch people who shared like every 5 to 10 days and they went like 200 days. No matter what they were saying, it was so relevant. It's just so helpful to hear because there's a lot of fear and inhibition that goes in. You're like embarking on a brand new journey that, most of us have never been on before. So you're kind of going into the unknown. So absolutely anybody, and I'm so grateful for all of you guys who have shared anything you hear at all is so helpful. So just immerse yourself in it for a long time. I mean, for me, it was years, probably 5 years or so. I was watching videos by John Rose and by others like him. And I first started with like a day, 3 days on juices, and then worked my way up to 14 days. That was a really eye-opening one for me. And I guess that piqued the way I felt on the 14-day juice feast piqued my curiosity. Like, whoa, like how far does this go? How good does it get? So then I still didn't do a longer juice feast for 2 years, but for the next 2 years, I still watched everything I can get my hands on. And it still wasn't even really a conscious knowing that I would definitely do it, or try to do a long juice feast. It just happened. So I think when you set an intention to just heal or to experience life at the highest levels, something takes over behind the scenes and it just starts guiding you with like simple day-to-day decisions, like which videos to watch, which books to read, who to speak to, what kind of questions to ask. And you build up a knowledge base. So I think like that, for me, that education was just crucial. And then once you're ready enough, I believe it'll just unfold and happen naturally. And the beautiful thing was there were still some questions I had and some fears and, some doubts about it. But then people came out of nowhere. This is another magical manifestation, but like Juicing Jules she was like an angel, just came out of nowhere on day 70, 75 or so. From the raw vegan family. She just helped out. Nathan himself, this is another kind of trippy experience, who I love him, reached out. Hey, bro, if you have any questions, I'm here. There's like this juicing community, just like with the raw vegan community, that they just know you're in a vulnerable place and you're at a place where that was the time of greatest doubt and hesitation for me. That was a time where one kind of influential raw vegan outspoken influencer reached out, the only person throughout the whole time, and kind of fear mongered a bit and said, you can die doing a juice feast and all this stuff. But then like 10, for that one person who tried to instill that fear, again, they were probably lovingly trying to help, but
Yeah.
That increased the fear a little bit. There were 10 like angels that came in and
I think
stayed
it's
with
more
me.
like, I think good. I think it's more like water fast or dry fast people have to be careful about. And did you
Uh,
experience like any negatives or downsides or any moments where you felt like, maybe like this, something's bad here, or like reconsider,
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the question about? You said water.
Well, no, I said I think like I think with fears, like I just think people need to be more
Oh
careful
yeah.
with like dry fast or water fast. But then I was asking too, like, did you experience anything that made you feel any fear on the juice fast, or like any negatives,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right about that. People they kind of mesh them together, water fasting, dry fasting, and juice fasting, which they're super different. I can vouch for that. Very, very different experiences. The only time I really felt concerned was my last week. Like it
Wow.
was funny. I was actually in my head, I was going to end it around day 225. I kind of knew because from day like between 175 to 200, my body started saying, you're going to end the fast soon. So I started getting kind of like wrapping my head around that. What's that going to look like? What will I eat? How am I going to do it? I was very kind of organized in my mind. Like I would have a week of fruit and then a week of like denser fruit. And then, so I thought I had it all mapped out. But then, you know, I had I had an experience where on my final, right around like day 223, I think, I decided I don't know why, but I just put a drop of iodine supplement on my tongue, like under my tongue, like I usually did weekly, prior to the juice feast, but it had been probably 6 months since I had done so.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know to this day if that triggered like the detox experience I had, or if my body just didn't want like a concentrated supplement like that at the time. But a couple hours later, I had I felt like a fever come on, which lasted a day and a half. And then my appetite went down. I had this metallic taste in my mouth for a few days that tasted like the iodine. And so my body didn't want, like nothing tasted the way it normally would. And it lasted like a good 5 days. And so my calories diminished a lot. Like no matter how much like my mind wanted to drink more calories, I could only drink like 2, 3 juices a day instead of like my 7. So my weight went down that week. Like it went down quite a bit. Like prior to that, it was in the low 130s, was the lowest it's ever gone. It's funny with me, even when I went raw vegan, that was the lowest it went. When I went from like a standard American diet to raw vegan, very high raw overnight, my weight dropped down, but it never went below like 132. And that was the magic number on the juice feast too, which is amazing. Like 7 months, 7.5 months on juice. And it went down to that level within like 40 to 50 days. And it stayed there, 132, 134, 133.
And what did you
And
say it was before? From what?
prior was 155.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was usually 155, 160, like in
Yeah.
my after picture of my 10-year, like,
Yeah.
high raw vegan, that was like 160 maybe.
Yeah.
So, and I did like 4 months of like, fully raw, a lot of liquids with smoothies and juices leading up to the juice feast. So, and I know I leaned out a little bit on that 4 months. So I was like about 155, I would say.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, but the interesting was how steady it stayed. And I told myself, if I get into the 120s, I'm going to seriously consider breaking the feast. I didn't want to get too lean. I think that's kind of a sign of like health. Basically, you don't want to be too lean. So it dipped down real fast into the 120s. Like it went down to
Wow.
like, honestly, I think the day where I was the leanest and I had gone I did actually like 2 days on mostly water. I believe it was all water actually. And because I had very little energy. So I had this kind of detox that last week. And yeah, because I went like a day and a half, 2 days on just water, and I went like 3 to 5 days on very low calories on juices just because my body it didn't want them. I felt my body kind of pulling me down like almost a rabbit hole. Like I feel like your body really wants to heal and wants to cleanse and wants to detox. And it seemed to really want me to go very deep at that point. And I just wasn't willing to go any deeper or go any longer. And so I guess, aside from that day 70, where the doubts and fears were creeping up, where I thought if I go any longer and if the microbiome theory is true, this is where the damage will probably start to happen. But I got over that real quick just by talking to people who had gone way, way longer and who reassured me, that it would be fine. But then again, at that last week, I became concerned a little bit because my weight dipped down so much lower, where it actually hit like the lower 120, like 123. I'm
So
sure
like
it was
my weight.
water.
That's my
I'm
weight.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure it was water weight. And actually, when you have a belly
Yeah.
full of juice, that weighs something. Like even one mason jar of juice probably weighs a few pounds, So I'm sure a lot of it was that, because my weight came back so fast. And like
That's good then.
already, yeah, I'm already like over 140, and it's only been 6 weeks since I started eating.
Yeah.
As soon as I started drinking the juices again, even it came back up to like, where it was at, like the 130 range.
I wonder what
But
the
that was,
longest person juicing has been. I know Sarah Erica, who I interviewed, who you know her, she did 365 days. That's the
yeah,
longest person I know. I don't know anybody that's gone longer than a year. She did 366 actually.
yeah, that's so amazing. I actually would love to. I have so many questions for her about that, but yeah, that's such an incredible amount of time
You went
after
so long.
going.
Did you ever think of going a year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were, gosh, from day 100 to 200, like that whole time period. And again, I started attracting a lot of people and a lot of videos that were more on the fruitarian to breatharian side of the spectrum. And I'm
Mhm.
very open and accepting. And I love everybody that's come into my life. And I love all the videos I've watched. So there were periods where, and especially whenever I was like, when I went from 9 juices, 8 juices a day to 7, it started to line up with some of their teachings that you eat your way to food freedom. And as long as you're eating cleaner and plenty of calories, as you clean out your body, you become more efficient and you don't need as much. So I started to really consider the fact that, wow, what if I could get by on lower calories than I'm used to, and on more of a fruit-based lifestyle? And is breatharianism real? And I started, just watching a lot of videos, because actually those videos really resonated a lot with the vibes I was feeling on the juice feast. But I always stayed very open to like, I knew I would fall somewhere between there and like a full spectrum, high raw, lifestyle like I was accustomed to. And, or even fully raw lifestyle, which is what I'm intending to stay on at least for this year and see how I feel, which so far has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, it crossed my mind. Ultimately, by the time I got to the end, I was, at least where I'm at in my journey, definitely craving lots of fruit fiber, craving the salads, craving the greens, craving my homemade dressings, craving the full rainbow again.
Yeah.
So, some people say that as you get cleaner, you crave cleaner and cleaner foods. And So maybe one day that'll change and I'll be even higher. I'm still, I mean, probably 70% of my calories is just fruit or fruit juices and smoothies with, fruit smoothies. But I do really deeply enjoy like the greens, the salads, the nuts and seeds, a little
Me too.
coconut meat once in a while. And, I enjoy all of it. I really do. It's so abundant. I mean, I'm getting better with recipes and stuff. It's something I'm
Yeah.
really going to expand on. And the better you get at preparing these foods, the more you realize that like raw vegan pasta is absolutely amazing. Raw vegan sushi, it's all so fresh and flavorful. And I'm loving it. I really think like, which is the opposite that I was feeling on the juice feast. It was easy to assume I was going to be like ultra clean, like fruitarian or something. But I actually want to really get into like raw vegan, like sharpening my raw vegan culinary skills and learning from other raw vegan chefs out there, going to like raw vegan, culinary retreats. And that's really become one of my greatest passions, like this past couple
Amazing.
months.
And how do you
Yeah.
think going raw vegan has like changed your life the most?
It's cool because raw vegan is like the sustainable, like as far as my experience now, it feels like the sustainable, healthy, balanced way to keep the vibes going from something like a juice feast. Like, so for me, a juice feast was a temporary cleansing modality that was like incredibly powerful and beneficial. But then eventually I was called back to the full rainbow of raw vegan foods, and that being like abundant fruit, greens, nuts, and seeds. So why do I always get
Well, it's hard. There's
sidetracked?
just so many benefits to it, right? With raw. Like,
Oh
I mean, for
gosh.
me, it's like the
Yeah.
energy. I think that's like, just the energy like has changed my life the most and just the happiness and like the vibe. I don't even know too. There's just like it's so many things.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. Like, yeah, you'll ask a question, 100 different answers come in that are relevant. And my
Yeah.
mind goes to all those places and it's hard to choose. But that's what I love about the raw vegan journey. You keep your vibe super high, your energy super high, your clarity, your productivity. I've never experienced a diet slash lifestyle that 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 basically yields those results. I mean, when I
No,
was like raw till dinner, that was the second best. But believe it or not, it's hard. It's really hard for most people to wrap their head around. But believe it or not, even that one cooked meal at night, it's a night and day difference between fully raw. I mean, if I go beyond, like I have been using things like, dried spices and herbs and coconut aminos a little bit for my sushi dipping sauce and stuff. And, there's like little bits of supplements they're not technically raw, you
hmm
know. I can go that far and still feel the magic. And maybe steamed veggies, like the mucusless diet book says, like if you're using, steamed starchless veggies, they can still act like a broom. Your body they still move through you pretty well. But I think like for me, when I was into starches and legumes, like cooked legumes and stuff,
Yeah.
and any processed plant-based foods, it changes everything entirely. I felt just the feeling like entirely different. Felt kind of, it just feels like something was inside me that didn't belong inside me. It's really hard to describe it. And
Me too. It was the
yeah,
same with that. And talk about things moving through you. With the juice cleanse, like how were your bowels overall? But like, were you still having bowel movements on like day 229? And did you release any crazy things? Like since I spoke to you, I can't remember if you released any mucoid plaque or like any parasites, crazy, you hear these stories of people releasing crazy things on these cleanses.
yeah. The craziest thing I released were like, it seems like, and I showed a couple of close friends pictures, and one said it could be mucus, but to me, they look like pretty long worms, like maybe five throughout the course of the juice feast. One bowel movement had two of them in one, and they weren't living or anything, but they actually like looked exactly like a worm would.
Yeah.
Long, thin, little creatures or something. And they were actually like probably 2 feet, 2.5 feet from what I could tell. Like it was crazy. I was astonished. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a couple of videos on my phone that it's and one was
There's
like
stuff on my phone too from stuff that I've released. It's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, and the first one was like 2 to 3 weeks in. I was really surprised how quickly. And early on too, I didn't have those long, nasty, dark, greasy, like mucoid plaque photos that you see. I didn't have anything like that. But I did have lots and lots and lots of bowel movements. that were shaped like that. They weren't long and they weren't as
Mhm.
dense and nasty. I mean, I think after 10 years of fully raw or raw till dinner, I got a lot of the really kind of gruesome stuff out, probably way back.
Yeah.
But I did have lots of smaller bowel movements that were shaped just like that, like they were, like they were coming out of your intestines that were kind of damaged or misshaped. And you can kind of tell, like John Rose says in a lot of his videos, I don't know if your intestines get, they kind of can get deformed. If we're eating food, it's like back in the day, I was eating fiberless, lots of meat and processed foods. It can kind of stretch out your intestines and create pockets and things like that. And then when you're doing a cleanse, when you release a lot of that, like the old matter, it'll be in the shape of those pockets. And so I did have lots and lots of bowel movements that resembled that.
Mhm.
And you could tell that was older matter coming out. So that was probably the second most significant. The first were definitely those like maybe 5 or so worms that came out. They all look like the same too, like same breed, whatever it
Wow.
was. And then otherwise, it was astonishing how so far, like day 100, day 200, like I would, the bowel movements definitely lessened over time, but then occasionally I would just have these massive releases still, where you would have like a full size, like, wow, like bowel movement of old matter come out. And that's the sort of thing that kept me going. My body was telling me, like, you're going to, like on day 200 or so, 175, around that time, it would tell me, you're going to break your juice feast soon. So mentally prepare. But it also told me, you're not quite ready yet. There's more cleansing to do. And then like 2 weeks later, I would have one of those larger bowel movements come out,
Wow.
and it kind of reinforced that. So this is what I mean. Like your connection with your body, you become really confident with it, and you don't doubt it anymore. And you start to really trust those impulses. And so right up until the end, I mean, by the end, I was having some very small movements that could have been from the juice, a little bit of fiber from the juice. But then a couple of times a week, I was having larger, they weren't large by any means, but more significant. I could tell it was still the older material coming out right up until within 3 days of breaking the feast. And I even had a couple, which I found interesting because, like I said, I was kind of mentally preparing to break it around 225. And then that kind of detox week came up, and it basically forced me to extend it 5 days. And I had a couple of movements in that time period. And I thought, like, probably deep down, I had this intention to go the distance, clean out as much as possible from there. And I just keep thinking maybe there was some kind of significance to like those last couple of bowel movements, that my body kind of triggered something in order to push me a little bit farther along to release those. And then it was like, okay, now you're done. Because the amount of clarity and certainty I felt on the day that I ate that peach was absolutely, because I know, it would have been cool to break the feast on video, whether it was a vlog of my own. I know we discussed maybe doing that.
Yeah.
And it actually came up. It was just such a powerful, certain, and it was kind of like, now, it was
Yeah.
like, you're going to do this now, like next meal. It was like that.
Yeah.
It was something that was like, I couldn't argue with it. It just, and at that point too, like I said, that week was a little bit more vulnerable than the rest of the juice feast. So it definitely just felt like through and through, like, something to just absolutely heed that advice, like
Yeah.
absolutely pay attention and just do as I was told from my body, basically. But it's just so astounding, like how precise the guidance was. Everything to like, even like what I call like my prescription of the exact juices, the exact amount that was necessary to drink in order to go that long, and the exact, ingredients that I would pick up for my juices was just like, it's just astounding. It's just amazing. Yeah, how
Amazing.
precise that communication was.
Amazing. I'm so glad it was like such a wonderful, amazing experience for you. And it's been so nice having you on with the update and just the overall sharing the overall experience. And I'm just wondering before we end off, like, is there anything else you feel called to share with the audience about the juice cleanse? Anything that comes to mind? And if not, that's okay too. And if you can let everybody know where they can find you, because you're amazing. And I will link it all down below as well.
Awesome, Jillian. Thank you. I always like to kind of just put it out there that, like, something like a juice feast, to me, it was very similar to like a plant medicine ceremony type of experience. I've had both, and both I was deeply, deeply, deeply called to do them. And the juice feast, it was so called, it just unfolded effortlessly for me after many years of research about it and stuff. So, I just want to, encourage everyone to just make healthy lifestyle changes long term. I think that's the most important thing you can possibly do. And be very gentle and gradual with yourself. Don't jump into something just because you saw me on YouTube or somebody else. Let it inspire you for sure. And if you do feel that calling, let it guide you. Let these individuals guide you and assist. But definitely always follow your heart and your own intuition regarding these choices, and trust your deeper intention will transpire into your decisions and into what you decide to, eat and fuel your body with or cleanse your body with. So I think that's important. I'd like everyone to understand that. And to please also just, I feel like the point that could be the most dangerous for someone is someone who's not as prepared and they jump into one. And once you go more than even just a week or two, it can be very painful or dangerous to break the fast the wrong way. Even though you're feasting on juices, there's no real dense fiber. So if you don't know your body well enough and you end up on week 2 or 3 or 4, or if it's even further out in the future, it's probably way more dangerous too. But just to learn how to break the feast properly, or the cleanse or the fast, you don't want to eat, like, you don't want to just cave in and have your cravings get out of control one day and then just, order a pizza or something like that. It can be really, really dangerous, health wise. So I always like to encourage people to do research around those 2 areas, but otherwise, at the same time, keep your mind open. And if you do feel called, I know a lot of people that would probably be life-saving for them. And it'll probably be that something like a juice feast could be that thing that propels them to a breakthrough in their life. So I also don't want to stop anybody from following their intuitive guidance to go down this road if they feel called to, because it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful journey to be on. But yeah, aside from that, that's pretty much it regarding the juice feast. I'm honored to be sharing, and that's it. I'd like to wish you a happy birthday today. I'm so honored that you took time.
Yeah, 40. I'm happy. I feel amazing. I'm happy it's my birthday and I'm filming 4 videos today. If my internet keeps on, John and I had some problems with the internet before we logged on. With my internet in Toronto, it was down with my provider today. But I'm so happy we got the video done because you're just so amazing and I really wanted to have you back and I have so much respect for you. And I just really recommend everybody go check out John's channel. He's amazing. He's good vibes and just so nice and like a genuine soul and so caring, adds so much value without like expecting anything in return, and just truly a great person. And I can call you a great friend now as well. I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do feel like we're becoming great, great, great friends.
Yeah.
And same, Gillian. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And the feelings are absolutely mutual. Yeah, you're one of the most inspiring people that I know.
Thank
absolutely.
You.
Yeah,
so
you're
nice.
amazing.
Thank you. And John is for anybody who doesn't know, he's under Raw Alchemy online. Raw.alchemy, I believe, right? So I'll link it below again. Go follow him. And I really hope to you guys, the viewers, that this video added some value to your day. If it did, give it a big thumbs up right now. And make sure you subscribe if you don't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.